Hello everybody, long time no see. In today's video we have a very special setup with Mike and Ulla, and today we are going to share with you one of the baseline topics for every ServiceNow professional is how do you make fields mandatory in ServiceNow. My name is 𝐓𝐀𝐊𝐄𝐀𝐄. I am an MVP 2025, and today with me are Ulla and Mike. Hey guys, please say hi. Ulla, you can start.
Hi everybody, Ulla Norlander here from Sweden. Also a first-time MVP in the ServiceNow program. Over to you, Mike.
Hello, my name is Mike Scotto, and I'm joining here today my fellow MVPs to have some fun and to support.
Yeah, for us it's very important to share knowledge and do it in a relaxed way. So Ulla, what are we going to do today?
We'll start at looking closer at the options available on mandatory fields, since there's, at least that I know of, 5 different ways that you can enforce a mandatory field. So we're going to dive into the first of these 5 options today, the UI policy. Okay, so we have made some simple preparations. We made a simple app and created a table for this app with some fields. So let's dive into the creation of a UI policy for beginnings.
So let's make a new application file. By the way,
Yeah.
This is how you do it. In the list you can select UI policy. Oh, by the way, what is the difference between catalog and UI policy?
The difference is they're kind of the same, but the catalog UI policy is only applied when working on catalog items. So it's a more specific use case, whereas the UI policies can be applied more or less on each table everywhere.
Yeah, and as far as I remember, they are all stored right on the SysUI policy table. As far as if I remember the name of the table correctly. Yeah, so now let's create the standard one. So what fields are we going to make mandatory today? Make stuff mandatory. Hey Mike, do you know what are all these options here? Like when you switch the view on the UI policies to advanced, now we have an option to select it as global, unload, reverse and false, and inherit.
Global is, I think, and also reverse and false is important. So let's start with global. Global is for all the views you have. So if you want to differentiate between different views, you have to deselect the global option, and then you can specify a certain view.
Oh.
And reverse, yes, and reverse false. So this is exactly what happens if all the conditions are not fulfilled. Then it's reversed. Sometimes this is important because you can come in some troubles if you have many different UI policies on one table and they are competing with setting or doing something, and then you have to check whether you forgot to check this or uncheck this. This is a bit tricky.
Yeah,
but for now, I think we should start with the setting here.
This one is tricky when you have a lot of them and the order is the same, and yeah, it's you always need to be careful. So let's proceed.
Yeah.
Which fields should we make mandatory today?
I don't know. Let's start with trying out short description.
So?
And you set the mandatory as true. And submit this one.
Do we need any conditions?
Yeah, let's do a condition so we can showcase how it works.
Okay.
Let's go for a simple choice first, active true.
Oh yeah, it's always a good idea.
So this, as you can see, what we set up is 2 parts. This is the UI policies that dictates when the policy is applied, and the policy actions, which was what you created just recently, is what's going to happen when this UI policy gets applied. So let's switch to the view of the form of this table.
So we can create one record. Okay. Our first one. So let us just create a blank one. And now we can check, right? So active is by default false, as we didn't specify a default value for it. Normally, I presume it's a good idea to make it true. And currently, as we can see, the short description is not mandatory, but as soon as we click on active, it becomes mandatory.
Yeah, and try to save the record now before entering a short description.
Of course. Now I'm trying to
see what
save
happens.
it. Oh, and we got an error.
Yeah.
So I think let's now try to put it here and save it. So now it works.
Yeah. So this is the use case for the UI policy. It's running on the client side, like that's your browser, and it's only run here on when you have the form open. So this are the upsides and also the downsides with the UI policy.
You're aware of that we have many different experiences. No? So we now call them experiences. We have here the core UI, and in my projects I always raise the attention on the customer side on which experience else do we want to have some functionality. Do we also want to have it in workspaces on the next experience, in the portal, on the mobile? No? This becomes more and more important. And so my question is, in which experiences this UI policy will work on or not?
I presume it should also work in workspace in core UI, but not in the mobile.
Yes, so basically I always have 4 experiences, and this is what I also do in my documentation. This is a kind of table. No? We have a functionality, make something mandatory, and then I always check in the columns, no? Core UI, next experience, portal, and mobile UI, and you're right. For the basic stuff like UI policies and some simple UI actions, it's working in all experiences except mobile. This is something you always have to re-implement, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mobile experience is a great idea for our next video and maybe a bigger, larger series. great case here.
Now I'm really interested in the list view thing, so therefore please go ahead and try this out.
Yeah.
I'm switching now to list view, and here we can try and deactivate the record first, and we remove the description, and then I presume let's try to make it active again, and it should not work, right? Ideally, what we don't need it to work, and it works.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. This is the downside.
So easy to override the UI policy once you get to list edit.
Yes.
But this means at the end we need 2 artifacts configurations, no? Like
at least. And as you can see, and now it's open up the form, which prohibits you if you have old records that maybe you implemented the UI policy earlier, and then you have added some things, and then you cannot change the old records via the form without first filling out the short description. That's also a thing.
And what about scripting? Now here we are on the, let's say, dimension. We have a dimension of experiences, and then we have another dimension and to the other direction of scripting and not scripting, or let's say user behavior and scripting behavior. So can you save the record on the scripting level without setting the short description?
Oh yeah, this is a great idea. So I will be using a great SN utils to open the current record in the background script, and then let's try to do it here. So I will try to set value. So we already have it We already have it active, right? It's still active. So let's try to deactivate it first. Or actually, I'll do it here. It's easier. And now I'll try to set it active again. And then I'll try to update the record, and we should ideally not be able to do this because this is our goal. And it works.
Yeah. So
another
again,
downside.
Only processing when you're looking at the form view.
Oh, yes.
But is it really a downside? I'm asking this question because I think you want to also introduce the other options for making something mandatory or not. And in my experience, it's often helpful not to have this restriction on the script level, because if there's a really strict restriction, it can be really annoying on the script level, because then your scripts will break.
Yeah.
And that's why I presume we have at least four more additional options, right, Ola? Which I presume will be covering in our next videos, right?
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that we could dive into one more example or so when looking at UI policies.
I fully agree. Which one should that be?
Let's take a look at some DateTime examples.
All right, here we are.
And for conditions, let's look at the due date, which is a DateTime field.
Yeah. Should not
see.
be empty.
No, let's go for something a little bit more advanced.
Okay.
Like before today.
Okay, before today. Yes. So what do we do?
Let's make another field mandatory.
Which one?
I don't know. Let's go for description this time.
All right.
And switch to the form.
Here we are. Let us do.
And let's try it out.
And now let's try to select a date which is after this date. No, it works. And then before. Oh, it becomes mandatory again.
Yeah. So even as this is also a good use case for low code, no code way of doing pretty advanced with DateTime selections and so on. And also enforcing in different use cases, you could need to set fields mandatory if a certain date time has passed or is in the future or whatever. So that's good. Thank you.
Another point I presume we need to cover is that when you switch to advanced view, you have a script option.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to say about this, guys? Maybe Mike, you?
Yeah, it's my personal opinion. I'm not a friend of these script fields because I'm always struggling with the meaning, and I try to prevent this. It's a bit hidden in your configurations, and you have to know that there is a script which has some importance, and therefore I try to prevent this and try to solve the challenges in a different way.
Yeah, I think one of those confusing things is that you have to provide exactly what is happening if condition evaluates to true, and what happens if it evaluates to false. And another thing is the run script in UI type. has a desktop, mobile, and all, but the workspaces, I think, are only included when you select all, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
This is also so tricky. So I presume then we will not stop here.
Yeah, I'm thinking, do you want to try out something as advanced as looking at conflicting UI policies, which is one of those things that's, even for a seasoned developer to work your way around.
I think so. So we have now 2 policies created. Let's maybe switch the field to short description and see what is going to happen. So first of all, very good, ServiceNow, thumbs up. We have a notification that is saying that there is already another UI policy which is referring to the same field, right? And has the same order. That's how ServiceNow is trying to tell you, hey, something might happen. Another thing is, on the UI policy action list, you'll see the red dot next to the field name in the UI policy action, which is also highlights. However, what I personally think about it, right? So it doesn't check the conditions.
No.
Yeah, and then it sometimes might become very confusing because you have 2 conditions on those UI policies which exclude simultaneous execution of them, but they anyway show it to you like a conflict. Mike, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's basically impossible to predict in condition because it's evaluated during the runtime. So this is here not the runtime. So therefore, I think the only option to point to a conflict is not checking whether they are on the same order or on the same field, the UI policy. And maybe we can also therefore show the users how to debug a UI policy during the runtime, so we can see which UI policy is executed when and in which order.
Great idea, but let's check first how those 2 conflicting ones will work together, right? So in our case, let me select the date in the past, right? So we have now the policy which monitors short description and also checks if the date is in the past, and short description should be mandatory. But as you can see, date is in the past, but short description is not mandatory. This happens because of the conflicting UI policies and especially reverse if false option.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we do? How do we troubleshoot it? How do we debug?
Yeah, then you can, in the all menu, you can enter debug UI.
And we have debug UI policies.
Yes.
So now they are
enabled. Unfortunately, this is a bit annoying. You have to go back here. Don't know why. 3 or 4 minutes out. Then hit F12. Depending on your browser, you should see now the console. And it's a bit overwhelming, all the information here. Yeah, please reload this page maybe, and then it's I'm not remember. Here you see the UI policy in between messages, and the best thing is the names of UI policies, because I think they are named here with the short description, and then you can hit Control F to find all the outputs, and then you see exactly in which order they are executed, whether they are true or false, and what they are doing. And it will take some time to get used of this, but at the end you will find what is conflicting and why something is not working.
Yeah, this is how we were able to filter out to our policies that we have created. Here they are. All right, sounds good. Do you guys have anything else to add about debugging?
No, not debugging. Maybe I don't know whether we have talked about this. These UI policies are performed and executed on the client side during the runtime of the form. Now I'm emphasizing this because there are other options. Maybe Ola will introduce later in other sessions, which are executed on the database side.
Yeah. For an upcoming video.
Yeah.
So, I presume this will cover the subject for today. And any final words, guys?
Well, just to summarize the UI policy, it's kind of quick and easy to set up, but it has its limitations, and I think it's the go-to #1 solution for any developers that's setting up a mandatory fields. But there are some other options available, or that can be used in conjunction with the UI policy to make it enforced in a better way. But it's, as I said, it's quick and easy.
And this is one of those options in your arsenal as a ServiceNow developer or system admin, which you need to know. And in conjunction with the other options, you will know which option will fit the best, and this should help you. And we will try to cover all other options as detailed as possible in our next videos. So I presume we hope that you have enough information, and this information will help you in your daily business. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.